And welcome to Debate 4 on 1. We get to meet again. New week, new topics, new guests, new debates right here on the program. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Remember, you can get in touch with us, and all you need to do is get interactive using the hashtag Debate411 on any topic that we're having right in the program. And today, we're looking at the issue of begging. We've met some of these people in the streets of Kigali. Some of them come to us, some of us go to them to give them a hand. And of course, the question we're having today is, can we stop this culture? Is it possible? Should we even think of stopping it? And my panelist today is none other than Dominique Alonga. Welcome to Debate 4 on 1.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we also have Oswald, who is the director of the National Council for Persons with Disability. Welcome to Debate 4 on 1.
Thank you very much.
We were expecting to have a representation from the city council, but of course, they pulled out last minute. I was told that the vice mayor is supposed to be attending a certain meeting elsewhere, but we wished that they would have at least delegated someone to come on the program. But nevertheless, where two or more are gathered, he's in their midst, right? And we can have this debate right here. So very quickly, I'll start with you, Dominique, because you had a campaign.
Yes.
You called it the Crutch Month Challenge. And this campaign was aimed at getting off the streets of Kigali beggars who are disabled.
Yes.
And most people are saying, wow, this was a great initiative. But the question is, should we even be bothered to get these beggars out of the streets of Kigali?
Yes, I think it's very important. We need to be bothered by this because it's not only an issue that is affecting them, it's actually affecting all of us, you know. Even in terms of just the social, a peaceful walk, people are, you know, bothering you or asking you, manipulating your emotions. So there should be, I think, definitely a sustainable way to get these people off the street, to get these people to do things that will make them sustainable to themselves and develop. So we definitely need to be bothered.
We need to be bothered. Oswald, some people will say, you know what, the culture of begging or the issue of begging has been there since time immemorial. Since the days of Jesus Christ, we still had beggars in the streets. So why are we bothering ourselves to work even hard to get them off? Should we even be thinking of, you know, getting beggars off the streets of Kigali or elsewhere?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as you say, begging is a very crucial problem here in Rwanda, even elsewhere in the world. Normally, there are many ways and many causes of begging, especially when we come in the sector of disability. There are many people with disabilities who are on the street begging because of different reasons. Some of them, they have some historical challenges whereby they did not have education so that, you know, to survive, they have to go on the street for begging. So we have also this kind of Christianity in Rwanda, whereby to get something from God as a blessings, you have to give someone. So by giving, you are getting blessings. So now we need to think big in order to have this problem being solved. As long as we are entering in independence too, we need to have all citizens have a very well development so that all of us shall be singing the achievements for all.
We'll be getting into the causes because with me here is a report, baseline study on the root causes of begging among persons with disabilities in Rwanda. We'll be getting deeper into this particular report. But Dominique, what he says is that there are some people actually in the society, amongst us, our brothers, our sisters, our family members, our relatives and friends, who feel that the beggars in the streets sort of are a channel for them to get blessings. So do you feel that probably these are some of the people who probably feel like or will feel offended or denied something if these beggars are no longer around?
I think it's definitely around the perception of begging actually enabling us to feel good about ourselves. I think that's very selfish. The fact that if I give a coin, I feel good about myself. Oh, hey, I'm a giver. But that is not sustainable. And I know that people think that way, but they shouldn't be. First of all, the little change that you're giving this person is actually saying that that's their value. You know, you give them a 10 Rwandan francs coin or 100, you're essentially saying to them that, you know what, this is your value. So you try to feel good about yourself, but you're actually really minimizing them and harming them. So I think whoever is probably going to want to shoot me right now, but it's really a wrong thing to think. It's a wrong perspective. It's very hard to get it out of your mind, especially when you're really manipulated at the second. Give me, give me, give me. So getting that out of your mind is harder than just giving a coin. But the message is harmful to these people, and it's very harmful to society.
So
again.
should we stop giving, Oswald? When we meet some of these beggars in the streets, or when they come to your car and they're knocking the window and saying, give me, please help me, should we not give them? What do we do then?
I think giving, you can't stop people giving, but we have to harmonize the way of giving. For sure, what Dominic says is true. As long as people will be needing to survive, they have to be a way of getting survival. Otherwise, people will be bored and bothered by always having someone on the street begging. So far, we need to have a channel of assisting these people who are the most vulnerable than others. There are different ways of that the government has put in place through social protection, whereby the government is channeling money to the districts, whereby they identify people who are the most vulnerable, and they support through government social programs, including Girinka, including Udehe, including VUP, whereby they give money to the most needy through cash transfer, you see. But also at NCPD, we have different programs of helping those people who are willing to be supported. I say this because there are people who even refuse to be supported through vocational skills. Yeah, so...
So when we talk of this support and we're still having some beggars in the streets of Kigali and other parts of the country, what does that insinuate? Dominic, do you feel or do you read a failure in a way of either some of those who are running these projects, of supporting these people, or where do you see the failure? What is wrong? What's the problem?
So when we decided to do Crutch Month Challenge, we actually were blaming some of the systems that were in place. You know, we thought, surely, how hard can it possibly be, you know, to help these people in need? And when we started, actually, we actively walked the streets of Kigali to find people, to say, you know, are you begging? Why are you begging? And we want to help you. We actually went out to them to say we want to help you. And these people wanted quick cash. When we started telling them, would you like to find a school? And we just pay a vocational school, like he mentioned, and we just pay the fees for 6 months. And then we assumed that you'd be ready for a job or something. They disappeared. They would just disappear. And we were like, maybe it's not really the systems in place that have a fault. It's deeper than that. It's a psychological or mental belief system that the system that our government or the civil society has to deal with, but it's really the willingness of the individual, you know, because it's not only, we can't, I don't blame the system anymore. I don't blame the civil society like I did when I was starting the small project. Now I know they put stuff in place. They say, you know, there's this, we can pay for these vocational schools for you, but then these people need to come and say, we need this, help us.
But the fire in your stomach, Dominique, that was burning that time we talked in another platform concerning this particular issue, there seems to be a change of tune, as you say, that you no longer feel like it's the system or the institutions that are there that are to blame or that have failed, you know, in sorting this out. But then let's look at probably the more creative ways. What are those that need to be done, probably, in order to deal with this issue once and for all? Should we, or if someone came up with an idea, Oswald, and said, okay, fine, let's take them off the streets by force, would that be possible? Would that work? Would that help?
That wouldn't help. That wouldn't help because right now I believe that their mentality is thinking, I'm dependent on begging. Begging is giving me life. Begging is giving me bread, probably alcohol, probably drugs, so they are dependent on that. So to get them off by force is really not helpful. We need to find ways to interest them to come. That's why we said, you tell us what you want. Do you want to be a tailor? Do you want to make shoes? What do you want, so that we can go through your talents? Because they're people, and people have abilities. So with more funds and with more ability out here, if the civil society could set up things that would encourage their inner selves, their inner talents, then they would be probably more willing to come. Instead of, I think one of the things that made us not as successful as we hoped was we didn't have the funds to actually go through for every skill set that all of these beggars had, But I know that there are people out there who have that, the funds.
So what Dominique is saying diplomatically is that you guys, including probably other officials, are not giving a proper approach to this issue of getting the beggars off the streets, especially even those with disabilities. That your approach is not probably working, and they would have wished that they had the resources that you have, and maybe they would have been more successful. Do you take this criticism?
First of all, I really appreciate different initiatives that have been put in place not to fight against begging. But according to research we have conducted in 2014, it came to our attention that we have some big roots, causes of begging, whereby we have been informed through the research. Therefore, there were some recommendations carried out by the researchers that NCPD should conduct some awareness campaigns on anti-begging, so that people who are on the street should be aware of the government's social assistance, so that they should start creating their own businesses. Another point, we may also rely on what you call key root causes of begging. Normally, you may have some people on the streets who are begging, but when you go behind the reason, you should find out some other very strong points that have pushed them to come on street begging. When I try to cite some of them, let's come to what we call lacking of employable skills. Normally, we have 5 types of disability, whereby we have physical disability, we have visual disability, we have hearing impairment, we have mental impairment, and other people of different disabilities. Those people, they came from different families, and they have been supported differently, which caused some of them to go on education and others to go on the streets. Why? Because our former briefs, citizens, Rwandan citizens in general, they believe that to support people's abilities was not their priority, because they are there, they are disabled, they can't do anything. They have to stay at their home without doing nothing. Even the system, the policy in place was not catering them so that they should go to education. They shouldn't go even get a job because they have no education background.
Which system are you talking about? When was this?
I'm saying this. First of all, I'm starting from what you call mindset. The mindset of the whole general population.
Including those in policy-making positions.
Including even people with disabilities themselves.
Yes.
They thought when you are born with disability, you are nothing. They call you these negative nicknames that recently we have published, that they can't do nothing. So we rather stay on the street getting rid of food and coins to survive. But even there was no political will before 1994 genocide, whereby people's abilities were being considered as vulnerable people. There were no programs, there was no law protecting them, there was no policy in place, there was no any legal document which would be like a foundation to support them. So far so good. So far so good. There are people who have came up from that background, and they have came up with having education, and now they started the campaign to have the government put in place some policies putting in place some laws, putting in place some programs that are helping, that are mainstreaming disability in different sectors.
So haven't these reforms been enough to make or help us not have the disabled beggars in the streets? Because when you say this, you've said from the before 94. I mean, it's over 20 years now, and a lot has happened, as you say. You even have these kind of institutions where you represent those with disabilities, but we still have them in the streets.
Yes.
Where is the problem? What is the issue?
Yeah, thank you very much. Normally, Rome was not built in one day. It took more time to have Rome as we can see it now. So we have started from what we call general campaign. We have made the campaigns through the local government authorities. We have made the campaigns through the general population, and the campaign from the people with disabilities in general and the street beggars themselves. In August 2013, we have gathered them to gymnasium, NPC gymnasium. We discussed on how begging is a very big issue in Rwanda, especially in the city of Kigali. Most of them, they have argued that there are some causes which are pushing them to go on the streets. Then we couldn't take them as absolute reasons. Therefore, in March up to June 2014, we have made the research to know exactly through scientific research on key routes, that are pushing them to go on the streets. So after having the research, it came to our attention that there are different routes, causes of begging from them. Can I say some of them?
Yes.
Yeah, normally, the first one, most of them came on the streets because lacking educational background. Some of them, they did not even attend primary school. Consequently, they don't know how to read, count, and doing something. Even if you can have, you give them a startup capital, he or she can't have a little knowledge to count or to run his business. So he have to come on the streets to get a coin, to get and even go back of spending those coins. Another reason is what we call lacking employable skills. Some of them, because they did not have education, they couldn't have the brain, the skills or the knowledge to allow them to have what we call a payable job, which now take them to go on the street to beg. Thirdly, it is like what you call a culture. Yeah, we have seen that some of them, they have taken the begging as a culture, whereby some of them have bought some motorbikes. They have some houses.
From begging.
From begging.
From begging.
Yes.
Now, we'll be getting deeper into those particular 3 steps and others that you have just mentioned over there. But I'll bring in Dominic. He says Rome was not built in one day. Are we using an excuse as to why we are taking it slow to deal with this issue? Because you know what? Rome was not built in a day. We are trying. We are trying. You see, Eugene, we're already trying. What do you read from that statement?
I think measures to involve the normal citizens should be also included. As we raise awareness politically or through systems, there should be something in place to involve probably the young people or, every person who drives a car, a person on their way to work, to have an awareness of how do we deal with these people or with beggars on the street.
But he says they've done that. They've done awareness campaigns. Are you happy with the results?
I guess I would say that I'm not happy because I haven't seen a lot like involving me as or my peers,
So also, why that approach of hands off, we don't want to involve the others, like Dominic is saying. Why are we not seeing the involvement, as he says?
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue of begging, it's like a multi-stakeholders approach that needs to be used. Let me discuss on perspective of NCPD. The NCPD is a government institution which has been created by the Constitution and is being regulated by a law to mobilize all citizens on issues affecting people's abilities. And also we are there to build their capacities so that they have at least the minimum of requirements to survive. So far now, when you go on a begging issue, I can ensure that there are more measures have been taken in order to build the capacities of those street beggars.
But where is the involvement of people like
Let
Dominic?
me tell you, let me continue.
Yes.
You know, the government has its channels to support its citizens. You see, the civil society, they have their own channels to support their representatives. You see, the governments oversee the whole general population, but the civil society, they see their membership. If the civil society can say, let's come to fight, to advocate for people on the streets, it's fine. They came to us, they told us what they planning to do. We told them, please, go ahead in line with the disability rights. Don't go and misuse your autonomy you have as a civil society, but also try to do it on a legal perspective.
Exactly.
So where is the involvement of the ordinary mwananchi, the normal people, in terms of the ordinary citizens in these campaigns towards pulling out beggars from the streets? As Dominic said, that we need more involvement of the members of the public. As we talk to these people who are in the streets, let's also talk to the members of the public. Where are they in your strategy in this awareness creation?
Okay, thank you very much. The NCPD, being a coordinator of all activities being done in Rwanda towards personal disabilities, we have had what we call Disability Coordination Forum. It's a forum which sits once a quarter to discuss on key challenges so that we create some recommendations to overcome them. So we have what we call representation at international level and representation at the local level, especially for civil society organizations. Then you have government institutions and the private sector federations. Those people, we sit once a quarter to discuss on key challenges and discuss on how to handle them. So I may invite her to join us in order to bring her contribution towards anti-begging campaigns. But what I wish to tell you is this. As a government entity, we have our representatives of NCPD committees from cell levels to sector levels, up to district levels, to national levels, even including the city of Kigali.
So you insist that there's total inclusion in this kind of discussions?
When we need to implement the program, we channel through our organs at the local level. But when we wish to involve our stakeholders, we call upon them, we have a meeting, we discuss on how to work together, then one pass here, another one pass here, then you have a joint implementation framework.
So the person who's supposed to give Dominic the information has been missing in action. Dominic, this person, you've never met the person.
I mean, when I am picturing this whole issue and strategies, the kind of strategies that I see that actually involve the youth or involve the general public. Let's say if we took the example of the commemoration of the genocide, it's something that is loud, and the youth has forums, and we get to know this is happening through social media, through the television, mass media, everything. So I'm wondering, am I the one in this specific issue who's not opening my eyes enough, or is this just silent? And I'm also speaking on behalf of my peers. Like, do we have forums, or do we have places where we could meet specifically for the begging issue, just like these other things that are happening? We all get to know about sports. You don't need to force yourself. It's in your face. We all get to know about a lot of other issues, the drug abuse issue, the commemoration, like I mentioned. It's in your face. It's just you to choose. But in this specific issue, what I feel is it's not really in my face. I need to dig and I need to search. And I think if I have the courage to search, there might be a lot of people my age or the general public who won't have that courage or even desire to search.
So you wanted an in-your-face kind of approach. We're coming back. We'll take a very short break. Of course, we're coming to dig deeper into this particular issue. What's the role of the civil society? What's the role of the citizens in general? Plus, of course, what is the role of the media in all this particular discussion that we're having today on begging? And of course, we've got more right here. So do just stay with us. Use the hashtag debate411. We're coming back to keep this conversation going. Tell us what your thoughts are. Do you really feel that there's enough effort being put in place to get off the streets of Kigali and elsewhere the beggars that you see around? Do we need even to get them off? Because some people say that, you know what, it's something that is there with us, not just in Rwanda, it's everywhere. So it's normal. Is it normal for you? Talk to us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. This is Debate 411. My name, as always, is Eugene and Nangwe. Today we're talking about the issue of begging. And the question we're asking ourselves, is it fine? Is it normal? Are we doing enough to help those who are in the streets to get some decent kind of livelihood? Or are we being played by some of them? These are some of the questions we're asking ourselves right here in the program. Our guest in studio is none other than Dominique, who has been very active in terms of trying to find a solution to this issue. She started a campaign called the Crutch Month Challenge, aimed at getting disabled beggars off the streets. We have Oswald, who's representing the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Missing in action is the Kigali City Council and the representatives from the civil society platform who we had invited on the program. Last minute, they backed out. But of course, we're talking about this very big issue that we see out there. And before we went for the break, we're looking at the issue of involvement in these campaigns of anti-begging. And Dominique was saying that we don't see enough of it. You know, we have to get to such a platform to be able to know about some of these things. And she feels this is not enough, Oswald.
Yeah, thank you very much. In reference to the findings from the research, we have been recommended to organize a program on security development. So therefore, we have mobilized funds, then we got it, then we have forward the good news to them. Then, of course, some of them have applied for starting the vocational training, and the others refused. Then, so far, so good. Around 70 of them, they are on training now. They are in different activities. They are in tailoring, they are in welding, they are in kind of the soap makings and in the hairdressings. Yeah. So others, we are still negotiating with different partners to see whether we can use another approach, which called psychosocial approach. Because some of them, those I've mentioned above, those who have wealth, those who can even work, you see, but who are spending 20 years on the streets, that is a career. They consider begging as a career. So the approach to use is either you take him to rehabilitation service center or you take him by force. But as our government is trying to help all citizens using human rights, we use this approach of approaching every citizen to know his problem and try to solve them in an appropriate way. So another point, there are different policies which are being adjusted in order to be disability mainstreams. When we go to inclusive education policy, now the policy states that people with disabilities have the full rights to study with others without disabilities. That is a good news, whereby even the mature people, they can go to school. When you go to a policy on employment, now the policy states that there are different skills that need to be for people with disabilities. And therefore, through VTCs, who are now training our people, we have told you that we have a very big number of people who were street beggars now who are on training in different trades. So when you go to sports, we have different sports teams whereby those who were street beggars are in sports and they are competing to get prizes, but also to be incorporated into society. So for those who have resisted to stay on the streets, we are having different negotiations with different partners, including Rwanda National Police, whereby begging is a crime. It's a 6-month imprisonment.
If you're caught begging,
yes,
this is already in law, or this is something you're wishing
it's
to
in
be
the penal code.
It's in the penal code.
Yes.
So those people who come to our cars or our houses or somewhere, when you see them around, that is illegal. Whatever that's
illegal.
So what should we do then? We have people who, he says, even after all these things that he says have been put in place, the education being, incorporated in there to allow them to go to study, these training facilitations and the business part of it, but they're still saying, no, I'm not leaving the streets. I'm still going to be here. How do we deal with this, Dominic, in your own opinion?
I think it's like a market. And there's a product, and if the product has customers, then it's still gonna be running, it's still gonna be produced. So we either just cut off the customers so that the people feel like this product is expired or it's no value to it anymore. So I think as long as coins are being handed out, these people are still gonna beg, no matter what. There are new strategies. I think it's very funny and it's quite interesting to see the new strategies as they develop their own strategies to beg. You meet someone on the street, they're now sending their children off. If you look at the horizon, the parent is watching, and the child knows that they're going to be punished if they don't get anything back. And that's now an approach to manipulate the people through children. There's other approaches. So many of them at the end of a church service are thronging the church doors to beg. So they actually also learn how to manipulate people. And I think as long as people are the citizens, the public is still giving out coins, still giving out cash, the beggars are still going to be running. They're still going to. So like I was mentioning, we need to be more involved. The general public needs to be more involved in terms of knowing what needs to be done, in terms of being aware, stop it. I think as an advice, I could say, what a couple of my friends are doing nowadays, when a person comes to us, we're like, we see you have a child. There's a boutique over there. Would you like some bread for the child? And you can eat instead of the cash. Because as long as cash is still being given out, begging is still going to be done. So we need, with the help of the civil society, with the government, other approaches. What can the general public do? What can we do? I'm a normal person who works somewhere, and I'm walking, I'm meeting them. What awareness do I need to have? What can the civil society do to teach us to deal with this? Should we instead give bread? Should we instead, give clothing?
So from what she says, Oswald, she's kind of pushing the blame to the people who give, because she says you are the market. And as long as you continue supplying these people with this kind of need that they have, and that is of that coin, we are to blame. Do you agree with that?
Normally, we have to blame on this. Because normally, when someone is taking you from the church, he's begging, he's confusing with a good spirit you are coming from. Then you say, oh, I don't need to, so you give a coin somehow. But let's think this issue on a global perspective. So we, as NCPD, with different partners, we believe the holistic approach is the most welcome. The young people, the youth forum, the local NGOs, international NGOs, the government, and even media, you need to help us to campaign. Those who are giving, they have to stop by giving, you see? Or we have what we call a general policy on supporting those people. But as a government, which always promotes citizens, from this coming fiscal year, from the 1st July up to June 30, 2016, we will be transferring money in each district to support cooperatives initiated by persons with disabilities. So we, instead of enforcement of law, you see, instead of taking them to the prison, we tell them, please, there is money we have sent to the districts, try to form cooperatives, at least 10 persons, then we give you money. We have different cooperatives that they have been formed, then who are now running. You see, who are now running. Those people who are staying on the streets, those are the people who have psychosocial problems. So we need, first of all, to approach them. Then we run their psychosocial aspects. Therefore, we support them to form cooperatives. Then we give them money. Otherwise, they will stay forever on the streets, because if the people who are giving, they don't abstain to give, and if the street beggars don't withdraw from the streets, the begging should be staying on there.
The issue here is, again, as well, those who are in these positions in terms of the begging and with these disabilities seem to be pointing a finger at some of the institutions like yours and saying, but we do not know about these opportunities. We do not know about this money that you're talking about. We do not know about these reports. They're only here on paper and sometimes on your shelves and in your handbooks.
Yeah.
How are you disseminating this information for them? For them to say that, you know what, we've heard of this opportunity. Come, Jean-Pierre, Jean-Marie, Aline, let's go. Let's take advantage of these opportunities.
Yeah.
How are you doing it?
Okay, thank you very much. Every group has the representative. Everyone has the telephone number. They have what we call a coordination committee. Of course, they are under coordination of NCPD, because most of them, they have disabilities. So apart from those who don't have disabilities, we will consider people who have disabilities. So when we have a research like this, we have disseminated to them, because we have conducted
These
research.
are the ones that are already
Exactly. Those are the ones who gave us
contact with, right?
Yeah, those are the ones who provided the right information we have put in our research. Therefore, after having recommendations from the researcher, we started mobilizing money to support them through TVET or VTCs. So therefore, for sure, we have the research, we have disseminated, and some of them who were old street beggars, they are now undertaking the vocational training.
But we are talking about those who are still in the streets.
Those who are still there.
How do you deal with those ones? How do they get this information?
I'm telling you, most of them, they know the situation.
They
You
do?
see? They know.
Really?
And some of them, they are on, sometimes they are taken to what we call rehabilitation center at Gikondo for briefing. The police take them at Gikondo, including those with disabilities. They brief them. They tell them it is prohibited to stay on the streets more than 24 hours.
But they go back.
They come back. So it's an issue which relies on psychosocial disability, psychosocial aspect than economic aspects.
So who's sleeping on the job? Dominic. He says they have given them this information. They have it, but they go back in the streets. Do you first of all think that this is accurate, this is okay, and
Well,
who's sleeping on the job?
I think what I'm hearing right now is a lot of research being done, and what I know about research is there's always a sample group, and the sample group most of the time is much smaller than the actual situation happening. And as we actually when the Crutch Month Challenge was being conceived and undergoing, we approached NCPD, and we actually got to learn about what they're doing. So when we would go to the street finding these beggars to help them, we would ask them, do you guys know this? And several of them didn't know.
You're saying they know.
I also think that the approach of being, I don't know if they're being grabbed by the police or being summoned, hey, come, but if the way they're approached can actually affect the psychosocial behavior. If you're grabbed and you're taken and you're briefed, I think most of the time you're probably not going to be hearing what's happening, I think you're probably going to be confused and being jailed, So even if you're being briefed about something really good, the approach is kind of like I was grabbed and probably put in a pandagari and taken, or I don't know how that happens. But the fact of the matter is there's still beggars on the street, disabled or even abled. And the problem is these are passive poor people. They're active poor people who actually try to pick up stuff to gain money every day, and they actually rise. But there are also the ones that we call beggars, which are passive poor, who choose to sit and live from being passive. And the approach that needs to be done, again, if we could go back to involving us, the general public, which I think was skipped over. What can everyone who's maybe watching even this show do? How can we be trained? Where can we go to get, if we want to get skills, where can we go? Do we have brochures to read? Do we have any information available that we can just grab and read about this, what's happening?
Do you feel probably you're being overwhelmed? The expectation is too much on institutions like yours, to deal with this issue. Do you feel that we have sort of felt like this is not our responsibility? We have, the National Council of Persons with Disability. We have the City Council. They need to deal with this. Do you feel the ordinary citizens have sort of left this job in your hands, and do you feel this is unfair for you?
No, for us it's okay. It's our job. First of all, you have to remind yourselves that to support people's abilities strategically, it is started with the creation of NCPD. Before, they have been supported through different NGOs with the aid you know about these NGOs, you see. But when the government thought to put its agents to support people's abilities, it's where we have got a budget for coordination and advocacy. So we are not overwhelmed by the job because the real target people, those are our people. Let me give you an example. NCPD conducts different meetings in all districts. So far, we are about 18 districts, whereby we train them on what you call on how to mainstream disability in their respective jobs. They understand. Some of them who have undertaken the training, they have started doing something. For example, when you go at the level of City Kigali, this ending fiscal year, they have availed 46 million to support these people through cooperatives. You see, the report I have received from one district, from Nyarugenge, they gave us a report that they have spent 10 million to support 5 cooperatives of former street beggars. How is it worked? they made what we call Gira Ubucuruzi. It's a program of supporting all the street beggars to make business, you see, because there is no fields in Kigali, it's rather than making business. They give every cooperative money to sustain its activities. So this money is being used by those cooperatives, by those that you are seeing. Those are the people who refuse to join cooperatives. Those are the people who refuse to go on vocational training, to stay on begging because they earn money, they lack some employable skills, and some of them, they take begging as a business. Because every day, they get even more than 5,000, while when he is at the school, they get on the knowledge, where if he or she thinks that he can't earn something less than before 2 or 3 months. Why we will tell them, we take you to school, we pay school fees, we pay transport fees, we pay lunch, even we shall give startup toolkits, which are in our hands to provide after July.
And they still don't want that.
Exactly.
So the question I'm asking you is, that advice that you want to give that person watching this show right now, when a beggar comes to them in the streets of Kigali or anywhere, what should they do? Should they call the police? Should they just shut the windows and walk away? What do they do practically?
Advice is number one.
Advice.
Yeah.
What do you want them to tell them?
We wish to tell them you are human beings like others. Because normally those people who are going on the streets, they wave off this humanity, then they consider as a thing or as animals. Some of them, they had even, we have seen some people who are not disability, who don't have disability. They come on the streets, they behave as people who have a disability to just for begging. So they have waved off their humanity to become as a thing or an animal or as a tool to be given something as a coin. You know, as a human being, you cannot give someone a coin, you give money which can sustain his action plan. So first of all, we advise people of good hearts who are willing to support, who are willing to promote anti-begging campaigns, to join hands with the government through the districts, through the NCPD, through different non-NGOs to support these people systematically. You see, don't come with the coin, come with the ideas, come with the program, then we remove these people from the streets.
Do you think this will work? Dominique, in closing, do you think this is practical? Because we have people he has said, and from his statements, there seems to be a lot of cash out there to support these people. But then they don't want that, according to him. So do you think this will be practical? You know, you just roll down your window and say, okay, now come here, let me advise you. Go out there and look for business to do. Will this work practically?
I think that would probably result in a lot of insults from the person, or a lot. I know that they manipulate using curses or insults, or so when you try something like that, I've tried. They stay behind you murmuring, and like he said, if you're coming from church and you have this great spirit, you've got a great day, you feel like it's the weekend, it's a great day ahead, you'd rather just go back and give a coin to stop the murmurs. They're calling you names, they're saying you're evil, evil. And as human beings, we don't want to be, So, but one of the things that I definitely agree with, there are people who actually have this burden on their hearts. And if you really have this burden on your heart, do meet with, different NGOs, different people who have programs in place, or, have an initiative like what we did, get together and do something that is real. Because again, like I said in the beginning, when you give a coin, you're actually unconsciously telling the person who's begging that your value is this coin. Another thing that I would advise would also be, give something practical. If they're telling you that they're hungry, you can walk, and get them, the food, a biscuit or something to eat, and give it to them instead of the cash, because that will diminish. I strongly believe that as long as there is cash flow in this, it's never going to stop.
But Oswald doesn't agree with that in a way. He says, no, don't give. You're encouraging it. Is it about cash? Is it about the giving in itself? Whatever it is, what is the issue? In closing, Oswald.
Yeah, let me come exactly what I wish to pinpoint. Normally, the image of people's abilities has been changed by the old thinking that they are not human beings like others because of the whole history behind our history. So from what we call nicknames in Kinyarwanda, people think we are not a human being. So and even you think we are not a human being. So by being thought that you are not a human being, it's where you come on the streets as an insult and someone with no value in the society to get a coin, to get something. Even when you go through the use of this money, you realize that most of people they use from alcohol, and in the alcohol, you see, we have been given a story of someone who is begging, who has 2 husbands. You see, she has to come to Nyabugogo for begging. Then one day she passed a night to one man, and after she passed another night to another man, in order to have what we call a family. You see, 2 men, every man has a kid, you see, with the woman. You see, so it's a kind of it's a kind of bad culture whereby people in the society, they use women with abilities to beg in order to
Take
sow
advantage of them.
money, and they take them, they give them in order to be called, this is my husband, you see. Because some of them don't have shelters, you see. They stay in the families, and in the families, there is nowhere to get food, there's nowhere to get livelihood issues, so then they come on the streets. So bearing in mind these issues, we believe anti-begging campaign, it's an holistic issue whereby all people, they have to think and to realize that people's abilities, they are human beings. They're human beings, they have values.
That are able to do
They
what
are
you
able
can
to
do.
things.
Super.
Even those who are lacking what we call improbable skills, they can do something.
They can do something.
They can do something.
So, in closing, just one answer only, yes or a no. Do you feel that one day we will win this war and have a city or a society with no beggars?
We believe, because this is a simple war. According to many wars we have fought and we have won, we believe this is a simple war.
It's a very simple one.
It's a simple. It's
Even
an
with
issue
those who are
of-
still refuse to
it's
get
an
out
issue
there,
of-
they will get out.
It's an issue of just changing minds of the whole citizens, general population, and the changing minds of those street beggars, who are now still few of them, because others have joined the vocational training. And so far so good. In the future, there are new commitments from the government through the social protection, whereby we believe in the future there will be the budget regarding social protection. There will be a component of supporting vulnerable people with disabilities.
So you see that's future. Dominic, do you believe that we'll get there? A society where you drive, you walk out there, and there's no beggar literally in the street, not because they've been forced or they're scared of being out there,
Yeah.
but they're not there literally.
I think, yes, I believe that. I believe that because I've seen a city before in India that has no beggars because people actually take initiative to help. So I believe the population that is not begging is a lot, and we can take action and help the beggars. And I actually believe that there will come a day where there are no beggars in Kigali, and then slowly Rwanda, all throughout. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much.
Totally.
I thank you so much for being on the panel today and
Thank
to
you.
discuss this
Thank you
particular
very much.
issue. Super. Thank you. There you have it. Do you believe so as well? If you do, what action are you doing to make that happen and transform it into a reality? Those are some of the big questions, the tough ones you need to be asking yourself. What's the role of you watching us in helping out in this particular issue? Is it about just giving that coin, or is it about just taking an initiative and saying, come home, I'll take you and I'll take your view and I'll support you? Ask yourself those tough questions, and maybe you'll have the answers to them, and we'll have to deal with this particular issue that is a reality with us today, and that's the issue of begging. From us, it's a wrap. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. The conversation continues. Use the hashtag debate411. I'll see you again next time. Goodbye for now.